Hi, folks. I hope everyone's feeling good again. Today we're going to show that Winchester Barlow, and it could be anywhere from 1919 to 1946. But from the research I've been doing, I'm thinking it's 20s or 30s. But anyway, let's do a couple quick updates first. You'll see there, let's take a look at the Trapper. The peach seed trapper again. It's a beauty. Still has the proud spring here. I couldn't fix that. However, I did clean it out. You'll hear no more grinding. And it will close. Doesn't come clamping down like the main blade. But it's a little better, so it's a keeper. And Rhinos is in the mail on its way here, so he'll be getting a brand new one of those that works better than that one. And of course, the key clump knife. And let's see what else for updates. I got another Remington brass knife. This one's called the Wildlife Scene. And I'll be showing all these pretty soon. This one's a lockback, R5. And it works great. Put that back there. And I also got this. This is a vintage Parker Frost from the 60s. And let me show you this. Little Barlow. With a couple of chickens or hens or something. But this one's not in as good a condition as the other ones. I bought this from the same buyer or same seller as this vintage Boker. Now this is important to look at the condition that these are in, because that's going to play off on the Winchester Barlow I'm going to show in a second. As you'll see, this is with this stamp. See how it says Boker, Solingen, Germany, and then it has the inox. Well, that designates this as a 1960 to 1970 knife in mint condition. It's a little work on the blade, but really nice. And also from that same seller, I bought this other Parker. This is a Parker Eagle brand. And look at the condition this is in. Near mint. So now we know that this guy bought a collection, and his name, I got this from the graphics department, is M Storm 1982 on eBay. And let's see, what is that? I just got distracted because I got a message. M Storm 1982, he's a seller on eBay, and he bought this collection of vintage knives, including this, which is the Winchester. And he still has some things out there. And everything's in great condition. So the collector he bought them from really took care of his knives and properly stored them, because there's no storage damage. And he has some knives that are worth up to $1,500 on his page on eBay. So that's that. Let's get on with the Winchester. Now, I bought this book last year when I got my Russell Barlow, my vintage Russell Barlow. And in this book, you will see some things about Winchester. The first thing I want to show you is, where is it at? Oh, this is where my Russell Barlow fits right under here. 260 with a high of 200 and a low of 50, and mine was appraised at 160. This book was written in 2003 by Roy Ritchie and Ron Stewart. It's the 4th edition. Let's go to the Winchester. I just want to show you some of the value of the old original Winchester knives. This one here, if you found a Winchester 4-inch 3-blade Stockman with bone handles, $375. That would be in like near new condition. And this here is the value range of them being in a used condition with a high and a low. So the high would be about 250 and the low about 40. So look for a Winchester Stockman and bone handles. Might make some money if you find a good one. Then let's go to the Winchester Arms Cutlery. The Winchester pattern system is good, but you will not find it stamped on the blade of many other knives. This is unfortunate since they hold top priority as collector knives, and number stamp blades are very useful for proper identification. The first figure in Winchester's numbering system indicates the number of blades, second figure indicates handle material, and the last 2 figures are simply pattern indicators. But you'll see they don't put down Stag in here. And I'll try and explain that a little bit later as we move on. Getting our little history lesson here, folks. So we move on to the 2703 Barlow pattern. 2703 Barlow, $325. But this book has every pattern ever made by Winchester and their pattern numbers that are on the blades. These are for their premium knives. If it has the pattern numbers stamped on the blade, it is considered their premium knife, one of their premium knives. And you can see some center swell cattle knife, 450. Whittler, 383. What did we say my Barlow was? 325. Here more, large Stockman, 465. The prices are just outrageous on these. And somewhere in here, it shows a priority of what knives to get if you're a collector. And it put Winchester under top priority. It also says it on here. This is unfortunate since they hold top priority as collectible knives. So always look out for the original Winchesters. And you can tell the original Winchester by, I keep getting messages, so I'm getting kind of, me and my girlfriend went out to the shooting range yesterday. And I think she wants to go back again today, but I can't afford that. If she wants to pay for it, we'll do it. I'm telling you, ammo is not cheap anymore. Because I did stock up on some more ammo. I can turn this place into a fortress in under 10 minutes. Okay. But anyway, that's a good book. You can find these on eBay. We're already up to 10 minutes, so this is going to be a long one. Let's take a look at the knife now. I'll slide it out here. And I think I gave you enough information to start out with. Now remember, it didn't say that there was a number for their Stag. And I think that's because the Stag is kind of like almost like a SFO, where it has to be ordered specially and then they'll make it. I don't know. I'm not for sure on that, but all them knives that I looked at, I can't find any Winchesters in Stag. Now you're going to notice a high polish on this. And my first thought was, okay, someone must have cleaned this up. But I showed you the condition of them other knives from the same seller. And I'm leaving a couple links in the description box on some articles. And the premium knives, they put a really high polish on them. You can see even the Stag is polished. So these are their high-end knives. This is something that would be in a display case next to like a pocket watch. This is like the best of the best you could get back in the 1920s. This is why they're so sought after. But you'll see what I love about it is, let's close it. Take a look at how rounded this bolster is. See that? Is that cool or what? And you'll see the chunkiness of the Stag. You got a big gap in there, but I mean, this thing's 80, 90 years old in almost mint condition. And here's the Winchester mark you want to look for. These are the ones that are made in the USA. I don't know, can we see that? See Winchester at the top, says trademark is second, and then made in the USA. Now they stopped making the knives in 1942 because of the World War II war effort. They started to make firearms again for the war effort, and they discontinued all their knife making. But in the 30s, they were getting a lot of competition from companies like Colonial and Imperial and a lot of the cheaper knives. So they made a second, here, let's see, there's that, and there's your pattern number. And you can see that stamp is definitely old. So this thing isn't bootlegged at all, which I thought it might be because it had the 7, which indicates bone, smooth bone. But they didn't have a number for Stag. And for their premium knives, both blades would be stamped. Some of them would be stamped with just the Winchester on the second and third blade, and some would be stamped with the main blade stamp, depending on what pattern. Like your Stockman, your original Stockmans would have 3 of this stamp on all 3 blades. On your 2 blades, you would get your main stamp, main blade stamp, and just the Winchester on the second one. But look at this beautiful Stag on this. Let's set it back up here just so I can do a quick run through. Look how they polish that all up. And when I get this in the hand and start clicking it, you're going to forget about GEC. You're going to figure out where GEC got the term walk and talk from. It's carbon steel, but it's so highly polished that there's some minor pitting in the blade. But as far as any patina, the polish has, and the way the guy stored it, you could almost say this thing looks like it's only 10 years old, 15 years old. Look at that nice swedge on the top. This is what I like about the Winchester knives, is their clip point is very unique, very aggressive. We'll just hold it right there. What do you think? That's your show side. Let's take a look at the pile side, which is even better. No cracks or chips in the handle. There is a problem with the main clip point. And I don't know if it's damaged or just the way when it was tempered, there's some warping in it. And I'll show you that, which is going to knock down the value. Remember that said 325? That would be if it's probably perfect. I paid $100, 97, and it was like 103 out the door with the tax and the shipping. So I almost paid as much for this as I did for this. This was $115 out the door, $108 out the door. So let's take a look. This is going to be a long video, you guys. Look at that Stag. Unbelievable. That's a good shot there. That's the money shot. There's no stampings on the bolster, which I like. There's no shields. The only way you're going to tell this is a Winchester is by the awesome aggressive clip point or by the tang stamp. And I do plan on having this appraised. I've just been busy this weekend. I'm going to send pictures to my guy. As you will see, there is some gapping, but it's all steel construction. Steel pins, steel liners, stainless steel bolster, carbon steel blades, high polished. Everything's got a high sheen polish on it. This here is like, remember how I told you the trifecta, the vintage, was the Schrade Walding, the Russell, and the Keen cutter? Well, this one fits right in that category. And here's where I'm talking about. I don't know if you guys can see. There's a little defect in the steel. Right in here. I don't know if that would affect it that much because, number one, all the steel is here. That's 100%. That's almost factory etch. It might have been sharpened one time, if that. But I'm figuring this is 1920s to 1930s. They started in the 20s. All their knives were high-priced premium knives. And like I said, in the 30s, they had to compete with Imperial and Imperial and Colonial and some of the cheaper made knives, so they opened up their own line of cheaper knives, but they still made these. But still made their premium knives, but they made them in a limited amount, very limited amount. And I think that's where this might have came from. It may be a limited run. But are you ready to hear some walk and talk from a 1920s, 30s vintage Winchester? And the spay, or the pen. So this is one of my greatest gets, you guys. I'm really glad I found this because this is super rare, especially having the Stag on it. I've only seen 2 others of these in my lifetime, and both of them had saw cut bone handles. I have not even seen an old Winchester with Stag on it, even whether it's a Stockman pattern. Right here, you think there's something wrong with that, but that's just part of the meat of the antler. Pins haven't been tampered with. This bolster pin hasn't been tampered with. So this is all original. I guarantee it. When I go have this appraised, this will probably be appraised for 200 plus, maybe even close to 300. Snappy, snappy. Here's probably your only flaw, but that ain't, with vintage knives, they really don't detract from the price because that's expected, where you start getting warpage over the years, you know, because that's all under stress. Now for the good part. Let's put it up with some of my other favorite vintage Barlows, and then we'll get out of here and let you guys be. Here we go. Now be sure to read them articles that I put on. They're really good reads, and you're going to find out that Keen Cutter, Winchester, Schrade Walden, Napanock, Eagle knives were all intertwined at one time or another. Winchester pretty much bought out, God, I forgot. Just read the article. But Winchester was like the main guy when they decided to start making knives. They were the main player. They bought up E.C. Simmons, which E.C. Simmons, Keen Cutter is what Craftsman, Keen Cutter to E.C. Simmons is what Craftsman was to Sears and Roebuck. Keen Cutter was their home brand. They made axes, woodworking tools like planes and files, and just about everything was called Keen Cutter in an E.C. Simmons hardware store. So Winchester first bought up Keen Cutter, then they bought up Walden, and it gets real complicated from there. But the Winchester is the more prized than either one of these because they made fewer. And these were much better quality than either this, or even the Russell. And here's a Schrade and a Boker. The Boker is 50s, 60s, 30s, 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 40s, 20s, 30s. So there you go, my friends. This was a long one. I hope you stayed with me. Take care. Bye-bye.